Good evening and welcome to our another edition of the Hindu Made Easy. Let us start with the front page news. BJP has divided Manipur in communities. It is being said by Congress Deputy Leader in the Lok Sabha, Tarun Gogoi, Gaurav Gogoi. Uh, there is a no confidence motion going on against the ruling government in the parliament and on issue of Manipur violence, interminable violence that we say in Manipur for going on for such a long time, and wherein the opposition party mainly led by Congress has questioned the Prime Minister's silence over such a long period of time and why he did not visit the strike-torn state. So basically, there will be counter points will be, and finally Prime Minister will speak on this no answer on this no confidence motion. So basically, this no confidence motion was brought in order to have to pressurize Prime Minister to give his opinion, and he should come forward to speak on the issue. Another news is that police registered case against Assam Rifles in Manipur. Assam Rifles, you know, is the oldest central paramilitary force. It was established by the British government itself to protect its tea gardens and other things. And it is being deployed in Manipur in areas where violence is, ethnic violence is on its rise. So the recent incident happened that certain areas has been demarcated as buffer zone. That means where the Kukis and Metis are living side by side, especially in the hill regions, foothills of the Imphal valleys, beyond foothill regions of the Manipur. So in those buffer zone has been declared, and where only army and paramilitary forces are allowed to operate, where Manipur local police wanted to enter that area and it was denied to them. So they have filed a case against Assam Rifle. Today Indian Army has very much spoken against this local police action, that filing of FIR against the Assam Rifles. Now another news is that resolution in Kerala Assembly seeks to scrap plan for. Kerala is the first assembly in India that has come out with the resolution that has condemned the Informed Civil Code, and it has got support from all parties in its assembly, and they are here that BJP is doing mischievous acts, polarizing the communities, and there is no need of Informed Civil Code because it will have problem in the tribal areas as well as Muslim people's personal laws issues. Then we have one important news in the front page is that Defense Ministry to switch to locally built operating system in computers amid threats. You know that often ransomware and hacking of the system, and especially defense related infrastructure are targeted often. So Indian government has come out with its own operating system. It's a similar to Windows operating system. So those who are operating Windows can easily switch over to, and it has been named Maya. It is being Maya, M-A-Y-A, Maya, and it's a operating system, and it's similar to Windows operating system. And right now it is being installed in Defense Ministry computers that are linked to internet, and with the passage of time this Maya will be installed in 3 services also, like Navy has given its nod, Air Force and Army is evaluating its effectiveness. So it's a good measure, initiative, indigenous measure, that we have our own operating system that gives little scope for cyber attacks, terrorism and other related crimes. Now in the spotlight section today we have an issue related to Bengaluru, pedestrian rights versus vendors. You know there is a law called the Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood and Regulation of Street Vending Act 2014. Now it says that in lieu of this law, the street vendors too have certain rights, and now that there is a clash of this one in the name of beautification of the city and all. The first victims are the street vendors. So it's related to that. You can read this article. It's specific to Bengaluru and the new government that has come there in Karnataka. They are taking certain measures, and this has related to that one. Now we come to our editorial section. In editorial section, two articles are very, very important. You could say one, the main editorial, that is one is falling short. It's on digital personal data protection bill that has been recently passed by Lok Sabha. It will, in due course, it will be passed by Raj Sabha also. So, data protection bill continues to have deficiencies that need cleaning up. The editorial says that this data protection bill still have deficiencies, and the time it goes through Raj Sabha, that is upper house of the Indian Parliament, it should have some rectification should be done. Basic premise of this editorial is that this concept of data principle, data fiduciary, and what's the relationship and how come the exemptions could be given to state agencies to bypass the consent of data principle. So suppose you are a consumer, you will be called data principle, and the government agencies are data fiduciary that take into your data, and they will use it for various purposes. They have made exemptions like pension, bill, fair price shops or other measures. They don't need your consent to use this data. Other grey areas are that they can interchange, operate this data. So you know that one issue regarding this digital data protection bill is regarding the dilution of Right to Information Act. We have read it earlier also, that how this Right to Information Act allows access to data except in cases of when this really leads to personal information to some officials or something like that, and they have a broad definition of what is personal usage. Now it has been implemented in such a manner that to define personal, it is a big issue, and virtually it obstructs access of data. So it's one of the reasons they were citing that the gains of Right to Information Act is lost in digital personal data protection bill. That is one of the things that is being issued. Okay, and it says that too many leeway, you know that exceptions, the ways to deal with too many leeway is provided to agencies of the state in the form of exemptions. Basically, the Shri Krishna Committee has come out with the Shri Krishna Committee's draft bill 2018 allowed for exemptions to be granted to. Shri Krishna Committee's original draft in 2018 had allowed for exemptions in the case of only national security of the state, that if the matter deals with security of the state, then you don't need to take the consent of the person concerned. But this has been broadened, and lots of areas has been included where data fiduciary doesn't have to take consent of data principle, and data principle doesn't know even the third party use of, that is also one of the things, that third party use of its data. So these are the things that is misgivings, and only after coming out the final, once it is being passed by Raj Sabha, then we will come to know that what exact wordings has been used for that. Another editorial is on communal penalty. Haryana government cannot use riots as a pretext to demolish Muslim homes. So it's relating to recent New Gurugram violence that in Haryana flared up due to the Vish Hindu Parishad's procession march in New regions. and consequent upon that, after what happened that Haryana government demolished lots of infrastructures, houses and properties related to minority governments. Now this article says that this use of escalators to demolish properties of a particular community, that mainly minority community houses, has no legal basis. That the government has only a fig leaf. Fig leaf, you know, that mere excuse, you could say. A fig leaf that law and order, in the name of law and order situation, they indulge in this sort of violence. What happened in Noor region also, after the violence flared up, Haryana government authorities demolished large amount of houses and saying that these are encroachments. But you know that even it says, the article says that it requires no special knowledge of the law. It requires no special knowledge of the law to say that demolitions are inherently illegal in the absence of any process. So due diligence, due process has not been followed, no notice has been issued, and it has been taken as a, you could say, retaliatory measure. It could be seen as a retaliatory measure by the state after demolishing of the houses and properties of the minority communities. Say that this has a trend in BJP ruled states like Maharashtra, like Madhya Pradesh, UP, and it was used in Delhi also. Now it is being done in Haryana. So after it was, Punjab and Haryana High Court took suo motu cognizance of state government's action and cited that is it ethnic cleansing. That term was used by the High Court. That is it ethnic cleansing sort of thing, that an immediate effect stop this demolition drive that was being imposed upon. So that is the one issue, that how a state in the name of law and order goes against the heart of the democratic rights of the people. Then we have one article in this section is editorial page. We have remaining two articles, major articles that we call. One is climate events and an umbrella for urban health. Climate event, it mentions, basically deals with that monsoon that started with Biparjoy, that arrived in June, and that led to consequent flooding in certain western part of India, and later on the North India, Himachal, Delhi, excessive rainfall led to flooding of the city limits of the areas. So this article says that post monsoon rainfall, what happened, that waterborne as well as vector-borne diseases like typhoid, dengue, or malaria, dysentery, cholera are become prevalent, and government should take measures to, and it basically more prevalent in poor urban settlements, colonies, jhuggi jhoparis, and low income households. So government should come out with the measures, long term measures to take care of. So basically that one is that. One article that we need to discuss in it's a very important article that we need to discuss in in detail, is that written by Sunanda Sen, is a retired professor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, and she has written about the grammar of commerce in a new age of geopolitics. The grammar of commerce in a new age of geopolitics. Okay, they say that there seems to be a new financial architecture where currencies of the south are ready to replace the hegemonic and exploitative order enjoyed by currencies and economies of the north. Now please try to understand this concept. What does it mean to say? That you know that how dollar and euro and pound sterling are having continued hegemonical command over world economy. It says that recently, after 2018, Indian rupee has become a sort of a bilateral medium of exchange between a number of 23 advanced and developing countries agreed to have currency swap agreements with India, extending credits in settling transactions. So, like we have trade in a rupee term, you could say. Like, see, in the recent post after the Ukraine crisis, Russian crude oil, you know that sanctions were imposed on Russia, and SWIFT, that is the mechanism of transaction of cash transactions of uh, international payment system. It is a SWIFT, it is known as. It was Russia was removed from that one, so it becomes difficult, and so India was earlier also during the time of independence. Also, we had a mechanism of trade in a local currency, that is a rupee, that will pay in rupee for, and you know that right now also we have that for Russian import mineral oil, crude oil, or even the defense production, defense equipments, we can pay in rupee. So Vostro accounts, Indian banks are maintaining Vostro, VOSTRO, Vostro accounts. Okay, through that it works as a mechanism where both parties can pay for in Indian rupees. Now thing is that as you know that Russia has surplus, trade surplus with us. Means we are importing more than what we are exporting to Russia. So Russia is issue of that what they will do of excess amount of rupee that they have, because rupee is not going to appreciate, or it is not like a dollar. So they are hesitant after some times to take rupee. So new mechanism has come into place that Indian refiners are now paying Russia in Chinese yuan. Okay, means Indian refiners will buy Chinese yuan and that will be paid to Russia. Okay, that will be good for Russia because Russia is directly selling crude oil to China and taking the bills in yuan, Chinese currency they are taking. Okay, and Chinese currency is bit more higher up our things. So it says that it's a good mechanism that has been able to sustain our inflation, and it is working good for both India as well as Russia. It creates problem little bit only in the surplus amount that is there, because Russia has surplus, Russia trade surplus. So in that surplus amount, if it exceeded that amount has to be listed. So recent example of Chinese yuan. Then another example, it says that India and UAE has set rupee trade mechanism, that dirham and rupee interchangeably it can be used. So no need of dollar at all. Earlier what used to be that either you have to buy dollars, pay them, and so as in dollar used to work as a intermediary between two currencies. Now there is no, and you know that UAE, United Arab Emirates, has lots of Indian origin people there, and we earn a lot of money from their remittances that they send to India. So this mechanism of providing rupee and dirham interchanging is good for Indian economy. Indian rupee is also worth. Another that Indonesia, their currency is rupiah. Indonesian currency is known as rupiah. So that's a rupiah. Indonesia is also in the process of negotiating that we will trade in our local currency. So this whole article wishes to say that now geoeconomics is taking over geopolitics, in the sense that traditionally global south, that we call ourselves India, China and all, are the global south, even within the BRICS nation, that is Brazil, India, Russia, China and South Africa. That BRICS countries are also, so these global south is having its own moment of glory, in the sense that now our currencies are interchangeably used for, and we are able to bypass in the European or US dollar and euro and pound sterling British. So it says that it is a new change, and with the passage of time it will happen that even the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, you know that International Monetary Fund and World Banks were created to take care of post-wars, post-Second World War devastation of Europe. So basically under the Marshall Plan that was there, and they used to give loans to India like countries also, that is different thing, but basic purpose was for their Europe, Western Europe they had been created, this IMF and World Bank. Now it says that with the rising power of local currencies, even these institutions can be bypassed, like IMF and World Bank can be bypassed, and we can trade in our own currency. That's a good sign and symbol of that seems that is the hegemony that he talks about, that is going to break. Now we have another article is in the text and context section. One is article Fitch. The Fitch down, it's a rating agency like a Standard and Poor. It's a FITC at Fitch. It's a rating agency that has downgraded USA from AAA to AA plus. That is, but it has been countered by it is being countered by Treasury Secretary, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, US Secretary of the Treasury, that is Finance Minister of US. Janet Yellen said that what Fitch has downgrade of the Fitch of US economies is not appropriate, not up to date and things like that. They have virtually ignored these things. So this is the downgrade of US, and what does it impact? So temporarily it has impact, but in larger course it doesn't have any impact. Then one article is what is the Jan Biswas Bill 2023 proposed by Centre. This is one act that is known as the Jan Biswas Amendment of Provisions Bill 2023. Basically, this bill makes easier for drugs companies, their ease of doing business and things like that. It is being criticized for diluting, you could say that, diluting the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, Food Safety and Standards Act, and Pharmacy Act. These are the three major: Drugs and Cosmetics Act, Food Safety and Standards Act, and Pharmacy Act. Government is saying that India has become the world's factory in drugs manufacturing and all, and we should facilitate the usage. Whereas the critics are saying that it will compromise on the quality and things like that. So it's basically that one. Jan Biswas Amendment Provisions Bill proposes to amend 183 provisions to be decriminalized in 42 central acts and 19 ministries and departments. Basically, it's a Drugs and Cosmetics Act have been the most contentious. Then we have one article is there on the economic boycott of minorities, a new form of untouchability. Actually, it is not a current article, it has been taken from archives. Okay, it's an old article, but they have old article in the sense the last year it has been written, and it's written by Anshul Trivedi, a member of the Congress. Basically, it says that in the recent developments of new violence in Gurgaon, Mahapanchayat had been arranged, and they declared boycott of Muslims, their properties, their shops, and things like that. So it says that it is very much unfair, and it's a crude form of untouchability. And it talks about the issue of untouchability, how it transforms from caste to religion, and why it's othering of a society, a segment of the population, and why it is so wrong to, and it quotes B.R. Ambedkar also, that this sort of boycott of earlier during independence struggles or earlier, it used to happen that among the Hindu caste groups, Dalits, untouchables used to be boycotted, and Ambedkar had that this is more dangerous than open violence. So it says that the same thing is now going to happen in case of its isolated phenomena, but it says that in case it's like targeting particular Muslim communities and making them second class citizens. Then we have news regarding, one news is that you should be following about the should constitution be amended. You know that constitution bench is hearing on the evolution of Article 370. Now the question is that CJI has asked, should constitution be amended to make Article 370 permanent? While Kapil Sibal, while representing petitioners council as a petitioners council, that argues that Parliament and Union government diluted Article 370 unilaterally, means it did not take into consideration people's voice and consent, and he asked for Brexit. You know that when Britain came out of the European Union, that was a referendum in England, United Kingdom, where Brexit happened. It was a referendum, and they said that no, we shall come out of the European Union. So said that Brexit should have, sort of a referendum should have been held in Jammu and Kashmir, which was replied by Chief Justice of India that in India you cannot envisage a Brexit type referendum, but within a constitution like ours there is no question of a referendum. It says that, it's an important point, it says that Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud on Tuesday said that as a constitutional democracy, India seeks its public opinions through established institutions. We have parliament for that, and we cannot go for referendum. So India seeks its public opinion through established institutions such as parliament, and not through Brexit type referendum. So it is not possible in case of India. And finally, he asked for that what is this permanent nature of the Article 370. He said that at one point the Chief Justice asked how it could be assumed that Article 370 had assumed a permanent character in the Constitution. Was a constitutional amendment required in Indian Constitution to drop the temporary nature of 370 and make it a permanent, or can it be deemed permanent merely on the basis that Jammu and Kashmir Assembly did not abrogate it before dissolving it in 1957? You know that one basic thing is that Constituent Assembly, under Article 370, it is that Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir was empowered to dilute the Article 370. That is the one thing. And now that after coming into existence of Jammu and Kashmir Constitution 1957, legislative Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir was dissolved. Now thing is that there is no Constituent Assembly in Jammu and Kashmir, and only the Constituent Assembly could have dissolved the Article 370. So this question is being raised regarding this one. Recently Government of India did you know it very well, they amended and they made that Constituent Assembly and Legislative Assemblies are at par. You will follow this development, Article 3 Constitution bench that is being headed by Chief Justice of India on the Article 370, and it will go on. Then we have in the other major news in the world news section, we will conclude it by saying that Imran Khan has been put in Attock jail. It's in a C-grade cell. That's a very inhuman conditions. He is the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, and his lawyers have said that he is being treated not humanly, and they are asking for his bail condition. But now it appears that Imran Khan is going to be there for some longer time period. It's not, and he has been convicted for 3 years jail term in a Tosa Khana case, that is dealing with the gift that he has received, and he did not give. He did not mention properly to the, and he is being accused of, you could say, the siphoning of the gift that he received as the head of a state. And and you know that Donald Trump is also facing trial for his 2020 attempt to overthrow the elected government, new Joe Biden government's, and he is fighting for his rights under the First Amendment. So that is the one of the news. Thank you very much. We'll meet again tomorrow.